From the Opopco Studios in Oklahoma City, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenni Carlson. Oklahoma State goes to Texas Tech this Saturday, and the Red Raiders have a way of not turning the ball over. With me on the phone is Gina Mizell. And Gina, K-State, last week's opponent, also not really turnover prone. The Cowboys did an okay job getting turnovers, but can they get back to their turnover-causing ways against the Red Raiders?
Well, that's obviously going to be a huge key again, and Texas Tech is tied for 8th in the country in fewest turnovers with 10, and one of the teams they're tied with is, lo and behold, Kansas State. So it's obviously they run different types of offenses, and the chance to get turnovers will probably come, from getting interceptions this week versus last week. Causing fumbles was probably a bigger deal just because Colin Klein and the Wildcats run the ball so much. But obviously Texas Tech has done a good job taking care of the ball, and so that's going to be, probably a bigger challenge for this defense than maybe normal. But I think the biggest thing is that Oklahoma State needs to take care of the ball, which they didn't do last week, and just some turnovers that happened at some inopportune times. When you talk about the pick six, when you talk about Justin Blackmon fumbling the punt deep in Oklahoma State territory and then fumbling on the goal line. So as much as forcing turnovers against Texas Tech is going to be a big deal, I think taking care of the ball is probably something that's going to be an even bigger deal for the Cowboys this week.
Well, as we've talked about turnover margin, part of that turnover margin is obviously your offense. Oklahoma State hasn't been turnover prone offensively. Do you think what happened last week, we could see some carryover, or was that maybe more of a blip on the screen than the other way around?
Yeah, I think you look at it, and I would say it was more a blip on the radar than a trend starting. That's the first time that OSU has turned the ball over multiple times since that Tulsa game that started at midnight in September. So they've been really good at not turning the ball over, and so and it's guys like Brandon Whedon hadn't thrown. He'd been really good about not throwing interceptions, and he throws 2, and 1 gets returned for a touchdown. Justin Blackmon turns the ball over 2 times, which, a player of his caliber, you don't expect that to happen. So I'm sure it was an emphasis in practice, and we know that forcing turnovers is always an emphasis in practice. So, it's one of the biggest stats in college football. You win the turnover battle, you're generally in pretty good shape, but it's especially true for this team just because of just their offense that they run, and then obviously just their style of defense and how much they rely on turnovers. So it'll be something to watch. But that was the first time that they lost a turnover battle since the season opener. So I don't anticipate that happening too many more times this season. But if it does, we might be in for another close one.
All right, thanks, Gina. And be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.